I feel lucky that not all guys have either a son or a son-in-law that is going to follow on with your lifelong passions. And I have that here in Tyler, and that I know when I'm gone that he's going to be, treating the land the way I want it and carrying on the tradition. And it's a good feeling. It's a real good feeling.
My name is Tyler Erickson, and this is Questover Outdoors. Questover's origin comes from a small log cabin deep in the rural Maine woods. Built in the 1950s, this small cabin is the starting point of some of the greatest hunting stories never told. If you personally did not walk in these woods in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, then you would have no idea to what kind of world-class hunting it produced. These giant bucks were often hid as well as possible on their way to the tagging station, and if somebody was lucky enough to see one, they would most likely get a fabricated story on where it was harvested. Questover's uniqueness can still be admired to this day. To say it was ahead of its time is an understatement. In today's world, within seconds of hearing a shot, everyone in your hunting party knows who shot what and where, just with a simple text. In the 1950s, this was not an option. Or was it? All throughout the Questover woods, there are telltale signs of technology past. Russ Smith, a phone line worker from Plymouth, Mass., built Questover in 1954. It was his passion and his place to find peace on Earth, away from the grind of city life. In the early days of Questover, he brought his talents to the woods and outfitted each tree stand location with phones and ran phone lines all the way back to camp for easy communication for when you needed help lugging out the big one. Questover was too good not to share. Even in the beginning, Russ made friends with the locals, hanging out at dance halls, and even bringing up fresh cranberries. When you are at camp, even today, you can still see and feel the memories of the group of hunters that roamed these woods from the 50s all the way through the 1980s. Mike Woodsom, my father-in-law, was the youngest of 6 children, raised in Duxbury, Massachusetts. Mike first came to Maine on a hunting trip with his father in 1962. They hunted out of a camp on Austin Pond, located in a township T2R3 outside of Bingham. He was instantly hooked. Going to Maine became his favorite part of the year. The Maine woods brought on a peace and love of nature beyond a little boy's dreams. The next year, Mike was introduced to Questover. Russ Smith met Mike's father by a chance introduction from a neighbor. Mike always knew he wanted to live and raise a family in Maine. Mike's father purchased a piece of land on the same road that leads to Questover. He and his wife Sharon built a small hand-carved log home to raise their family. Mike and his father hunted these woods for years before the opportunity arose to purchase Questover. Mike purchased the Questover property from Russ Smith's son in the late 1980s. The Smith family wanted to make sure it ended up with someone who would love the land as much as their father did. Life got busy with 2 young girls, and the camps did not get much use until I was introduced to them in 2007. I was in love with this place instantly. The feeling I had walking into those camps the first time is something I will never forget. My friend Aaron Sumi and I started picking away at the trails and maintenance. Year by year, things started to improve, and more of our friends began to join us. Today, we have a thriving deer population, beautiful areas to hunt. Hunting week in November provides memories and a brotherhood that I hope will last for generations. But Questover, on a personal level, to me is much more than a camp, a hunt, or a piece of woods. It represents the place where I can connect to God. It's the place where all your above-the-shoulder static can melt away. It doesn't matter what the task is, or if there is no task at all. When I walk these woods, fish this stream, or just sit on the front porch of camp, I can watch time come to a halt, and my heart is full. When you're here, and I don't mean the physical place, but when you're here mentally, everything becomes so simple. The pure joy and fulfillment this place offers is something that needed to be shared. Everyone should have the opportunity to experience their own Questover. In this fast-paced, digital world, people are losing touch with nature, their heritage, their values, and themselves. I know everyone is unique, and there is no one place that can provide this inner peace for every single mind, but the idea can have a million different journeys, all with a different outcome. But our pursuit remains the same. We are all searching for our own Questover. Our goal at Questover is to get outside in nature from all corners of the globe. We will introduce you to things you may not have had the opportunity to enjoy otherwise. Everyone needs a Questover, their own personal place to have and feel peace. We will not stop with our story. We are going to bring you on adventures with people from all over doing what they love. Join us as we journey well outside of our own lives and show you just how truly amazing this world is.
What is the thing that brought you to Questover?
What brought me was Russ Smith, the builder of Questover, was a good friend of my dad's. And, Dad, I was lucky enough that he brought me hunting because, lots of times it's a place where guys, want to be away from, they just want to be alone. And he brought me hunting with him, and he took me out. Wow, I'm getting emotional. I was lucky because he was a hands-off dad, and I was the last of six, and I was the lucky one because he did take me, and he didn't know anything with the other kids. He was pretty standoffish, and so that was the whole thing of me getting started. And he took me to Bingham first, hunting there when I was 11, and I just fell in love with cabins, and we stayed in the cabin, and I just fell in love with it. I mean, the whole thing. And the woods. There were two fox, well, they were trapping everything. They were in they call it the old fox camp there in Bingham, and they were spending the winter in there trapping. And to me, even at that age, I thought, wow, that's how I want to live. I want to spend the whole winter in here. Mm-hmm. And I just knew if I got it. So anytime I would come and then leave Maine, I'd go into these depressions back at school, because not that I was motivated in school, sitting there like that. But so that's how I was lucky enough to, get into Questover with my dad.
Questover to me has always been something that was more than a hunting camp. It was more than getting together with my buddies. It was a place that I could go and forget about all the static, the outside noise, the job, the nonsense, politics, like all that shit that just grinds at you, and you don't even realize how much of an effect it has on you until you get away from it. And I could go sit on the porch down there or be working like a dog. Either way, it was a place where I could let go. And it was so good for me, and it's been so rewarding, and it's been translated into so many great stories, and honestly just flat out contributing to my own mental health, that it's like, this is a story that should be told, right? And so it's like, oh, maybe we will start a hunting channel, and but it's like, it's more than that. And then you get all these ideas, and all the ideas kind of revolve around telling stories. And it's like, well, that's it. Like Questover, like, let's tell stories. And we'll start by telling our story and the story of the people that came before us for the same thing. And, we look to the woods and hunting and prepping and the camaraderie of hanging out with your buddies at hunting camp. And, there's so many wonderful things there. But, for somebody else, it's different. It could be, for some people, the lucky ones, it's their job. Or climbing mountains, or flying planes, or kayaking. It's anything. Your quest over can be whatever it is that gets you in that place, that helps you heal. It helps you get through pain and loss and suffering, and you know and that's what this hunting camp was for me. And I think it was, in a way, Mike could probably attest, has probably had some healing powers and stuff for him as well, and I'm damn sure probably for Russ Smith. Um, so Questover, our vision is to tell our story and do things that are in line with things that we like to do, and we'll go film some hunts, and we'll go do a bunch of adventures, but we want to get out with people, and we want to meet you, we want to talk to you, we want to tell your story. And while we're doing this, if there's people out there that are having trouble just finding meaning in life or whatever, that can connect, and maybe they'll find something they want to do, or it'll get their mind going, and everybody needs it. Everybody needs something to let go of that day-to-day grind. And I you know I'm so interested in not only telling, but I want to hear everybody's story. I want to live it, I want to do it. And we're gonna Ryan and I have talked about it, like we're probably gonna be doing some stuff we're not comfortable with, but we're gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
We got a guy we're gonna spend some time with. He's a professional whitewater kayaker, so I can imagine you're gonna get some pretty good footage.
Gonna get
And
wet.
you're gonna I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I slip and fall walking to the mailbox, so I have a feeling we're gonna have some
Our bloopers
bloopers,
reel.
yeah. But anyway, so that being said, as far as the storytelling, that's why we have Mike here, because he's the one that got me into this place, and him and I have had a very, very close relationship, probably closer than any, you know, son and father-in-law, son-in-law, father-in-law relationships that I've known. And this place is very special to both of us, and it's exciting to have him here for the launch of what we hope is something fun that connects to people, and we enjoy doing.
For sure, and I feel lucky that not all guys have either a son or a son-in-law that's going to follow on with your lifelong passions. And I have that here in Tyler, and that I know when I'm gone that he's going to be, treating the land the way I want it, and carrying on the tradition. And it's a good feeling. It's a real good feeling. So
Phew.
another one I'm lucky for.
Would you say that feeling allows you to let go a little bit too?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus, that's
Yeah.
deep.
That's the whole point, though, right?
Yeah.
These,
I mean, a lot of family members, like, I had two girls, and, they weren't woods goers really, and they loved the idea of it, and I wouldn't change a thing about either one of them. You need somebody, first of all, that knows the woods. I mean, even my dad didn't walk over a lot of the land that he owned, and Tyler's done more walking and knows the land better than he did. And so it's a real gift for me.
One of my favorite stories was you coming in the North Trail. Clay was waiting for you.
Oh, God. Stand up. Yeah. Well, that year, Clay would always come up with something new. I mean, usually a new gun every year, and but all kinds of gadgets, different deer, scent, or whatever. And he had this Weems original wild call, I remember, and he blew it a couple of times, and I thought, well, that's impressive. It sounded more like probably the rabbit dying thing or whatever. But anyway, where I hunted was where it was a long way from camp, and I always came in after dark with a light, and or if I could see good, good enough, I wouldn't use a light. But there was an area not too far from camp where all jack firs are up there. It was just you had to snake through them, nice little path going through there. And I'm going along through there, kind of daydream, but I wonder what's cooking at camp, and all of a sudden I hear this scream, and he grabs me from behind at the same time. And the feeling you always say about, wow, your hair stood up, oh man, I shit myself. And I think I did a little bit of all three because I've never had a feeling like that scared. And so of course he just is bent over laughing. I mean, he couldn't stop. He just laughed at his dad. I said, you should have seen all this, And, oh, I'll never forget that. God, that scared me. And
That is terrible.
wow.
And a little more elaborate on Clay is he's not a small guy.
No, yeah. Clay's was well, one of the last times he weighed himself. We were over the hospital. I had dropped a stove on my foot there, and I said, "I'm gonna weigh myself in," And so he weighed in. He was They were 6'5" because they had the height thing there. It was 6'5", 270. He was a big guy, and I'm just a smaller guy. And to have that envelop you with all that,
You thought you got hugged by a bear.
oh, it was, yeah. I mean, your mind doesn't work quick enough to understand what the heck's going on. But
We
man,
just picked you up off your feet real quick, I bet.
oh yeah.
I
And
feel
that
like he's
scream.
lucky he didn't get shot.
Oh man.
Seriously.
Well, yeah. I'm surprised I didn't. Of course, I did. There was a good warden around that time, and I didn't like that. I'd unload. Walking back to camp.
Yeah.
And so, just in that situation, it's good. You accidentally squeeze off a shovel. That's happening or something. But wow, I'll never feel like. Oh, that was funny. Oh man. But yeah, getting back to the whole. Yeah, I just am glad that we're heading the right direction as far as that goes, and this whole idea of Questover and what it means. I mean, if anybody could watch Russ when he'd come up and he'd sit there on the porch and say, "Man, this is my heaven right here,"
Mm-hmm.
and he'd just say, "I just live for these weeks that I can come up here," and just like you said, Tyler, forget, just put things aside and visit with friends, and he always would have a lot of the locals in because he was so he'd go down the Grange and do all these things in town and bring up cranberries from Massachusetts. He did a lot of that, and he was well liked, and there would be a lot of people dropping in. A lot of drinking, a lot of having a great time, and you could just, I don't know how many times I heard him say, how he'd be just dreading to go back to the hassle of Massachusetts, and he treated me like gold. I mean, just like I was one of his own. So, again, I'm lucky there too.
Yeah, it's
Well, I mean, how many times do you get tired of saying that before you think God put you where you're supposed to be, right?
Yeah,
Lucky man, right? All over the place,
yeah. Oh, for sure.
but
Yeah. I don't know how many times I said that to Sharon. I said, God, I mean, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change anything about the way things worked out. I mean, I am lucky, real lucky.
do you have a favorite blooper story? Hunt you screwed up so bad you had to just laugh about it later. Because we know you've taken a bunch of great ones. Have you ever? Whoopsies. So I'd love to hear that one.
Yeah. Well, I
I've got
know.
more of those.
I know the year was 1964. Are we talking, like deer hunting here?
Yeah.
Mhm. The one that got away and the one you had to laugh it off, or else you'd still hate yourself
Well,
for.
it's a classic buck fever story. I went with that
That's my favorite.
young, and it seemed like it was a lot colder back then because I remember, it was the first week of November, and Indian River, it had rained a lot and then got cold and it got some ice around the edges and it kept crunching, with the water settling, and I was,
Mhm.
I wasn't I was good at hunting just slow, go a little ways maybe, and if I liked a spot, I'd stop. And I was good at standing for a long time, but I did like to eventually move, and I wasn't a tree stand hunter. But anyway, I had gone down this little old logging road, and there was a stump right there, and I actually stood on the stump. It was a low stump, like about a foot high. And every once in a while, I hear that crunch of the river going down. That would just make me jump, And I had a 7mm Mazda, which I shouldn't have taken that gun, but my dad thought that would be. We sighted it in, and it was a ex-military that he got at Sears and Roebuck, real cheap back then. And so I'm standing there, and it was cold, and I was a little bit chilly, and I was, as it worked out, looking the wrong way. So I heard this little noise, and so I turned around quicker because I really didn't think it was a deer coming up on me, but I turned around and looked, and here comes this. Yeah, I mean, at the time he was huge. He was a big buck. He was at least an 8-pointer, and pretty much coming right at me. And as I knew I was in a bad position because I was right turned. I couldn't get a good shot at him. I thought, how am I going to do this? And when he's so close. So I started to do a real slow turn, and all of a sudden I heard him stop. And at that point, I'm looking. I can almost see him out of the corner of my eye because my head is still not turned enough. And that's when I started shaking. And I mean, I shook like I said, "There's no way I'm gonna hit this deer shaking like this." I mean, I just couldn't even. I just think about it now makes me want to shake. And so I said, I gotta move. I gotta do something. And so I started to, turn a little more again, and all of a sudden, yeah, they did that
Oh
big blow.
yeah.
And I said, whoa, and I turned around, and he was still right there. He took a couple of bounds and then stopped. And I'll guarantee I shot over him 3 feet because I didn't bring the sights down in tight enough. It was like I was snap shooting a BB gun. You get that, you think you know where you're gonna hit, and oh, it was like the end of the world, that I missed that deer. I looked for a long time. Was it 2 shots? Yeah, I fired the first shot and then another one when he took off. And wow, I mean, it was all a blur. There was no, okay, let me bring the bead on him and pick a spot and all that. And I thought that's probably the only chance in life I got a chance like that again. And I got all depressed and everything. And his dad, talked it up and said, "Oh, you'll see plenty of deer in your life and everything." And it worked out that way. But boy, at the time, it's amazing how, and if people that hunt and have respect for the animal the way we did, and wow, it's tough to miss one like that.
Mm-hmm.
Such a big, beautiful deer, and I would have been so proud, to have that deer.
I loved what you shared though about your experience after the fact and
Yeah,
the experience you had with your dad and your mindset.
yeah,
I think that's so important for people to
oh
pick
yeah,
up on. That is the mindset. Is it's not over.
yeah,
You're gonna mess up from time to time.
for sure.
And if that's your worst mess up as a hunter, then there's a reason why you have so many big bucks.
Yeah,
Right? Because how
Yeah.
many of us oh well, right? And they don't take it as seriously. I love your approach.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's a, you know, growing up, I had my father in our area had killed a lot of huge bucks. I mean, he was
God, he's notorious.
he's notorious for killing big bucks, and he was a very unorthodox hunter. Never sat a tree seat. He was very, very loud in the woods. He didn't care about making noise. And his theory is like, deer get chased by cats and dogs, basically coyotes and stuff. Every day of their life, 24 hours a day. You on your absolute best day will never be even close to as quiet as one of those animals.
Mhm.
It's like stop trying to sneak up on them. And he's like, but they are curious. And if you're allowed coming through the woods, they're gonna stick around long enough to see what the fuck is making all that noise.
Yeah.
And it's he was very good at he was very good at picking them out, and he's a very good shot. So a lot of times he'd be coming through loud, and
He's betting on him.
he would see those deer before they'd see him, or he'd see him in time to get that shot off, and usually it was pretty.
I've never
pretty
seen
well
anybody
placed.
spot deer like he can.
It's
My God.
it is impressive.
No, unreal. The first time I saw him hunting, I said, what are you doing? Some, why sit here plowing through the woods, you know? And he looked at me like I was weird, you know, and I'll just never forget that. And, you know, and now after all these years and all the reading Tyler does on hunting and everything, it's actually a good way to hunt.
Yeah.
And no wonder he got all those bucks.
And he wasn't done with them after he jumped him either. Like, if he didn't get that first shot, like, he was very good at understanding how a deer might think in that situation. So he's not taking off right after the deer, like after he jumps one. And there's always these other factors. Like if it was with a doe, or if it was with a doe and it splits up for the doe, he's gonna stick with the doe because he knows that buck's gonna come back to her. If it's a single buck by himself, he's thinking that, okay, it didn't see me when it took off, so he's gonna circle back and get on my track. So I gotta get into a good spot where I can see and wait for him to come back, because he's gonna come back to find out, you know, what I was. If there was one that definitely saw him or whatever, most of the time he's gonna try to think about where that one might end up going to seek cover or safety, whatever, and try to head it off, beat it to the spot. And I spent years. I started walking with him with no gun when I was like 7, and then when I was 10, he we might as well stay with bloopers. So we go out, we're in this piece of woods, and there's deer action like I've never seen even to this day. Like, there was a doe in heat, like standing heat, and there was a lot of bucks in the area, and it was just, there was a lot going on. We just kept seeing deer, and they would not leave this really small piece of woods. So he finally is like, all right, I want you to walk in front, because there's a big buck in here, and we're gonna see him any moment. One of these trails, you're gonna come around the corner, he's gonna be right there. And no bullshit, 4 minutes later, here's Bambi's dad, the only 12-pointer I've ever seen in the woods in my life, and it's broadside, like 30-40 yards, like literally a picture that would be on the cover of a magazine. And 10-year-old me, son of the great white hunter, grabs my rifle with 2 hands and do like a chest pass and throw it like 20 feet, and it just lands on the ground. I plug my ears and yell, shoot it.
Wow.
So,
Oh, man. No, I mean, I almost understand it from a kid's point of view, you know, looking at, wow.
I was ready for a spike horn. Me and a spike horn, like, we would have danced.
But the moment is so huge, you know, and then, wow, that is something.
Like, there was trumpets playing and shit. Like,
Yeah.
You
he
showed
was the
up
real
for
deal.
day 1 of kindergarten, and the principal's ready to give you your diploma for high school. Like,
Yeah.
you got to face the boss on round 1.
And the boss humbled me very, very, very quickly.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen a 12-pointer at broadside less than 40 yards for, I mean, that will scare you. If you're a young man, I betcha.
I've seen it once, and I threw my gun.
That is.
I've never even got a 12-pointer on trail camera. Like, think about how rare that moment is. I've got probably 6,000 pictures of bucks in the last 10 years, and I've never had a 12-pointer on camera.
Those types of bucks are in the realm of once in a lifer. I agree. You know, because not everyone will see that type of animal in their life. Hunting every year, doing things the right way. You're not wrong. You're not wrong, but I do think that you're due. There will be bigger.
That is,
Oh man, there was some heartache before I finally killed one. My dad picked me up from school one day. We're driving on a road out in Wilmantic, and this freaking Big 10 runs across the river, goes over the road right in front of us, and goes up in the woods. I'm shaking so bad I can't get a bullet in my fucking gun. I had a single shot 222, and I kept dropping the bullet in like 3 inches of snow. It took me a few minutes to find it. The fucking deer is just standing there looking at me. These two other guys that are out hunting, they drive up, they're watching, and they're like kind of like cheering me on, like, you can do it, you can do it. No, turns out I fucking can't.
I bet you kind of just be like, keep
Yeah.
going, come on, don't stop.
Get out of here.
So
You never expect that as a hunter.
yeah.
A crowd, you got this, bud.
So the fall that I was 10 years old, my father put me in situations to probably kill 6 different bucks in one season.
Huge ones.
And I don't think I got a shot at any of them, if I remember correctly. And then the next year, I actually I used a smaller caliber gun. I think I was using like a 22 mag, just because I was scared of it, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't using a big enough caliber, but obviously a well-placed round, you'll be fine. But that year, I had a really good shot at a 4-pointer, and I think what happened is I missed a little bit forward. I think I got it down in the forward shoulder, kind of low, and with a big gun, if you're hunting 270 or 30-06, that deer's going down right there, and you just finish the job. But with a smaller caliber, I chased this deer 3 miles. It was bleeding pretty good. It was a small buck, and I lost so much sleep about that really, really, losing them sucks. Everybody's been through it, and anybody that doesn't lose sleep over that or doesn't give a shit, I don't think should even be allowed to hunt. But it is part of it. It sucks, but that was another learning curve for me. It was like, all right, I need to get over my fear of a larger caliber gun so I can do the job right. If you miss by a couple inches, it's not gonna.
Yeah.
You're still gonna get it. It's gonna be quick. And then.
Would you say that affirmed how much you love deer hunting too?
Yeah, and I think it went from more of a, like, just something cool, like,
Yep.
to, like, wow, like, this is a huge deal. You're essentially taking a life, and I think, if you don't have respect for that and you don't think about what you're doing, and if you can't respect that process, like, I don't know, there's a lot there. And then when I finally did get one, the first buck I ever got, kudos to my dad again, it gets me in front of another big one when I'm 12, and it was a 9-pointer, 192 pounds, and
Wow.
and that one, I dropped it right in his tracks, and I remember I get up to it, and it dropped right there, and then it was still, I gave it another one just because I wanted it to end quickly, and I went up and, like, I'm petting this deer, and, like, I'm so excited, and you go from, like, laughing to, like, just, like, crying, like, it's an emotional thing, but that deer is a mature whitetail, had probably plenty of opportunity to spread its seed, and it's alternative deaths in the wild are not nice. Like, none of these deer falling away passing away in their sleep peacefully. They're getting ripped apart by other animals, or dying in a fight with another buck, or slipping on the ice and breaking legs and starving to death. They're either gonna starve to death or get eaten, or die from injury.
Nature takes its course.
Yeah, so giving a mature buck a quick death, and then using it to provide for your family, and I don't see anything wrong with that process, and I actually find it as a good way to almost connect with God. Like, it's kind of brings everything full circle.
Prior to my involvement with scripture and trying to find God in my own life, I think those were the first glimpses of when I would feel his presence in my life, is in those moments of not necessarily life or death, but when you harvest another animal. You know, whenever you outsmart something in nature of maturity and you decide to take it from the food chain, you know, you are fully in your place in the world, you know, at that time. And there's something about that connection that I think draws to all of us, you know, just wanting to tap into that connection and feel that we have a place here now in this world with everything that's going on around us, without a plan, without a structure. You know, there's something really special about that. That's what drew me in. That's what, you know, sounds like drew some of you in. Mm-hmm.
And it was all like, I mean, you learn so much from being in the woods and hunting, and like you gain respect for everything in creation, really. I mean, you sit in a tree stand, you climb out in a tree stand at 4:30 in the morning in the fall, and watch the sun come up, and watch nature wake up and come to life, and watch, you know, one bird comes out and then two, and you see some mice rolling through the leaves and some partridge walking by, rabbits, and then you hear the beavers start rolling, and all these sounds, and then, you know, in that morning everything's still and the leaves are loud and you hear all this stuff come to life, and that's this like amazing process. And then that kind of like that mid-morning, here comes that breeze, you hear the wind coming through the branches,
The
and
wind wakes up.
Man,
When the wind wakes up, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the best?
you can't
Isn't that isn't it brings tears to my eyes, because you're so right, because you're there to witness everything waking up. That's so perfect.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think there's always you know, a lot of people just don't understand how you can kill something so beautiful. And, you know, I always looked at it, well, I think of a farmer raising, you know, beef for the family and whatever, and they get close to the animal, but and they have respect for the animal, which is the big thing. You know, and you know, good hunters, I mean, they're preservers of wildlife in general, and to kill the animal, and we all love venison. And I remember the part in Last of the Mohegans when they're shooting down a deer in the beginning part of that, and when they kill the deer, they all come around and pay respect to the animal. And I just thought that was a great way to open a show, you know. And you know, it's too bad that everybody can't feel what we do, you know, what hunters do, it's just I think it's a gift in life that you can be able to do that, and just love wildlife in general, and understand that, you know, we're taking this animal and we're gonna.
Comes from a place of love.
Yeah.
I love that you just said that.
Yeah.
It comes from a place of love.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that.
No,
Right? They focus on the beef and the package,
Right.
the end product, the result.
But they're not thinking about the farmer that
Right.
you know, will stay up all night when a cow's sick,
Exactly.
Yeah.
and making sure it gets healthy, and making sure that it doesn't have shit stuck in its hooves, and its you know, hide looks good, and its stalls are clean, and it has a good place to roam, and plenty of room, and nobody looks at what people put into this, and how much love they have, and how much respect they have for the animals.
So back then I was still in Massachusetts, so when we brought it home, I worked for a supermarket chain there that we always got them weighed right there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it came in, I brought it in there, I had to cut the hide off, cut the legs off, cut the rack off, and of course the hide was off, and it was $205. Yeah.
And the rack was off.
Yeah. Yeah. The rack
And it was dressed too?
Yeah, oh yeah, dressed, yeah.
Fully dressed,
Yeah,
no
scum.
hide, no front legs.
Yeah.
Was the head off completely?
Yeah, because I took the rack off and I saw the head was off.
So no head, no front legs, no hide, 205.
Organs.
And I do have witness to, we used to just do the back strap.
That's a 300 pound.
My father loved the kidney chops, as he called them, and Joseph Pelly, a friend of mine, he had some, and these, just the back, the size of it, they were like these, you know, big little porterhouse steaks. I've never seen a deer have them that big before, and I said, wow, look at the size of these.
They're just different
And
down here.
So that deer was huge. And I got that with a 45-70, and he was walking up in some real thick woods to probably bed down for the going uphill. And of course my father said, "Oh yeah, she was going in there bed down, usually that time of day." And got lucky, kind of. I wasn't doing anything when he came up on me, and I got right through the woods there. I got a little with that poke with that 45-70 and got him right in the lungs. And when I started after him, I said, I was afraid I might have hit a tree because it was thick.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to see the blood trail, and it was even on the trees as I'm going by. I said, "Oh, he's going to be right there." And it was just like somebody placed him, came out in this little mossy, empty place, and there he is right in the middle with this huge rack sitting there laying there. I just, wow, I started jumping up and down like a maniac. That deer was huge. And my cousin came over, Claire. "Nice shot, you dick."
That's a jeepers.
Yeah, there's always a little bit of that when anybody smokes a staver. You know, it's like, congratulations, but
Yeah. And he said, "I could hear you jumping up and down and you know, over the woods here, you know." And yeah, that was funny. So we got the usual beers and had what was closest to the camp bring some beers back, and
cool.
and I hauled it out of there. Wow, that was fun.